What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. Let's talk some baseball. I know we got a lot of football to talk, but let's talk some baseball first. We are in the home stretch of the Major League Baseball season. American League East, Baltimore Orioles and Tampa Bay Rays both clinched the playoffs. So the Orioles, it's their first playoff berth in quite a few years. I'm trying to think. I know the last year they had Buck Showalter was when they really started that awful cycle of baseball when they had 115 losses that year. That was 2019. I think since like at least 2018, maybe even 2016. So it's been a little while. Rays return to the postseason yet again. So they're going back. I think this is like the fifth year in a row they're in the postseason. Baltimore leads Tampa by 2.5 games in the American League East because Rays got off to that blazing on start. Then they played really mediocre baseball for a long time, but recently been playing very well. And they are right there in the American League East. Both teams are going to the dance. American Central, Minnesota leads Cleveland by 7 games right now in the Central. Minnesota's playing pretty well, but still. 7 games over 500 on September 19th should not get you a 7-game lead in a division. That super tight American League West still going. Houston's in first right now. Texas and Seattle are both a game and a half out right now, so that dog fight for that division. National League East, Braves already clinched that division. National League Central, Milwaukee should be wrapping that division up. They're 6 games clear of the Cubs and the Reds. Cubs are struggling. They've lost 5 in a row. They got swept in the 4-game set, and they've lost their last 5. So they've fallen. At one point, it looked like they were pretty much a lock to make a wild card. Could even be the first wild card. Now their playoff spot is much more murky right now. National League West, Dodgers locked up that division. They've won the National League West 10 times in the last 11 seasons. For teams that are already eliminated, Colorado Rockies are officially out. Washington Nationals were just officially eliminated, which means my New York Mets are going to be next very soon. Oakland Athletics, Kansas City Royals, Chicago White Sox, and Los Angeles Angels are all officially eliminated from playoff contention. As for the wild card in the American League, Orioles are raised. Whoever wins that division will have home field advantage for the American League. Orioles, I think, are like 9, 10, maybe 11 games clear of Houston right now for that. So they'll lock that up pretty soon. At least one of those teams. So the first wild card is Tampa, who already officially clinched the playoff spot. Whoever loses that division will be the first wild card. Second wild card is Toronto, who jumps back in. Toronto has a chance to have a really good rotation. They got, Jose Barrios is really good. I know Alec Manoah, I'm sure, won't be a factor. He's had a rough year. But with, Jose Barrios, and almost got, Chris Bassett, almost got Kevin Gausman, and now Heejin Ryu's looked good since coming off IL from Tommy John. And, as talented as that offense is, if they can just get in, they could be a tough wild card to get out. And then Seattle and Texas are tied for the last spot. So Seattle and Texas are a game out of a second spot behind Toronto. And they're tied for the last spot right now. And then Yankees are 6 games out. We'll say kudos to the Yankees for they've actually played better since they embraced the youth movement. As awful as they've been this year, and as embarrassing as they've been recently. And the Red Sox, they've been falling apart. They've basically lost their season. They're 7.5 games out. They're gonna be eliminated soon. But basically, 3 teams. So 3 teams vying for 2 spots. So 2 of Toronto, Seattle, and Texas get in. Only time to see which one it will be. In the National League, as for home field advantage, the Braves are about 3 or 4 games ahead of the Dodgers for home field advantage throughout the National League. Both teams have already locked up their division, so actually still tight. As for home field advantage throughout the entire playoffs, Atlanta right now leads Baltimore by 2 games, so it's actually a lot closer than you think for that. I think home field advantage matters a little bit more for baseball than other sports, personally. It's because it's outside, the rowdy crowd. You saw some of the crowds at Citizens Bank Field in the World Series last year for Philadelphia. Speaking of the Phillies, they are the first wild card in the National League. Second spot right now is Arizona. They are a half game ahead of the 2 teams that I'm about to say for that second spot. 3.5 games behind the Phillies. That last spot is a dogfight right now. The Cubs and Reds are tied for the last spot. The Cubs at one point had like a 4-game lead or something like that. 4 or 5-game lead for a Walker spot. It's all the way down to only a game now. They're tied with Cincinnati for the last spot. A half game behind Arizona for the second spot, 4.5 games behind the Philadelphia for the first wild card spot. Miami is a half game out. They actually just swept the Braves in a 3-game set recently and blew them out in every game too. I think they outscored them by like 20 runs overall. And San Francisco is 2 games out. The Padres are actually have won 5 in a row, and they're 5.5 out. So Padres, who have had obviously an awful year, their locker room is a mess. They've severely underperformed. Are making a little late run here. Won 5 in a row. Have gotten to within 5.5 games. Still very unlikely that they get in, but now they're trying to make a late run here. But yeah, National Wild Card is really tight. You basically have 5 teams vying for 2 spots, and then you got San Diego lurking in the wings. So Shohei Ohtani, there was a big bombshell that came that he cleared out his locker. We didn't know what was happening. Is he hurt? Is he having Tommy John? What's going on? How is he being waived? I mean, the Angels waived like 5 players a few weeks back. Could he be getting waived? That would have broke the internet. They're saying he suffered an oblique injury. He's been placed on the injury list. He is out for the season, and he is going to have surgery on that torn UCL. Not sure if it's going to be Tommy John or not. So there's a good chance he may not pitch next year. If he has Tommy John, he won't pitch next year, but he could probably hit. Could possibly even be ready for day one, but he'll hit most of next year. But it doesn't have Tommy John. Still not sure if he pitches next year, but I think it's possible. So keep your eye on that. But he's going to have surgery on the ligament, but not sure it's going to be Tommy John or if it's going to be an alternate procedure. The Tampa Bay Rays have reached a stadium deal with St. Pete. Obviously, they've been trying to get out of Tampa for a while. They reach a deal with downtown St. Pete. I'm not sure if that's going to make a difference. Their attendance is really bad, which is a shame because they are a really good team. They've been in the playoffs like 5 years in a row, always winning, 87, 88, 89, 90 plus, if not 100 games every year. They were in the World Series in the pandemic year. We're very close. But St. Pete is not that far from Tampa. It's a puddle jump. So I'm not sure how much is that going to work, but supposedly it's like 30,000 seats. I mean, it's a $1.2 billion stadium. I think they're gonna move in like 2028, so like in another 5 years. I hope it makes a difference, but I just don't know if it will. And Bartolo Colon retired as a Met, so shout out to him. He was always a fan favorite. He pitched very well for his 3 years in Queens, so shout out to him. And Adam Wainwright went his 200th career game. Was very emotional after the game. This is probably his last year. He's had a really rough year this year. He's at obviously the very end of his career. I expect this to be his last season. Cardinals have obviously had a rough year, but kudos to him for winning his 200th career game. As for hockey, Mike Babcock has stepped down as the head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Was only hired 3 months ago. He apparently violated players' privacy. He wanted players to show him personal photos on their cell phones. This dude is a dumpster fire. I know he won a cup in Detroit, but since then he's done nothing. He did nothing in Toronto. Was there 5 or 6 years. After he got let go by Toronto, Johan Franzen, from a guy who played for him in Detroit, so he verbally abused him. So he's the worst human ever. When Mitch Marner was a rookie in Toronto, he made him rank all of his players' work ethic, and the player he put last, Babcock said something to. Now we have this. He really right after getting hired by Columbus, he was making players show them personal photos on their phones to him. That dude is a dumpster fire. He's not a good human being, and his career as a head coach in the National Hockey League is over. Could he go back to doing TV? Maybe, but his coaching career in hockey is over. Pascal Vincent is going to be named the interim head coach, and he actually signed him through next year, so he's under contract for this year and next year. Now he played a little bit. He was an AHL coach of the year, I think, in 2018. Then I think he was Columbus's AHL coach, and then he's been an assistant. This is his third year as an assistant with the team. He'll be the interim head coach. There's not much they can do. The season starts. The preseason is I think less than a month, maybe a little more than that, but a few weeks away. The preseason starts. They can't really go and get anybody. I mean, the only guy I think of is there's guys out there like Gerard Gallant. The guy who's had success. He took the Golden Knights to the Stanley Cup in their first year. He took the Rangers to the conference finals 2 years ago. The Rangers just let him go, and I do think it was the right move, but I don't think he's a bad coach by any means. I think he's a decent coach. But also, this close to the season, you need somebody that like knows the organization and knows the players. So proud of the right move. And he's been a coach in the minors. He was coaching in the AHL for a while, and he's been an assistant there for a couple of years as well. So Dwight Howard is meeting with the Golden State Warriors. Yes, Dwight Howard, the former, I think 9-10 All-Star, former multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year. Been playing in Taiwan the last couple years, putting up crazy numbers. Been all over social media. They're trying to get all these players that come up to Taiwan, trying to convince Chris Paul, and he had that funny video of all the guys that struggling to play out. He tried to convince LeBron to come down there. He might be joining the Golden State Warriors. And the Philadelphia 76ers signed Kelly Oubre to a one-year deal. He averaged 20 points a game in Charlotte last year. There was rumors if the Miami made the Dame trade, they would look at him, but he's going to the Philadelphia 76ers. I think it's a pretty good move. He's a decent player. He won't score 20 points a game. Charlotte's got nobody down there. He won't have the ball in his hands near as much, won't play as much, but he's, I think, still a decent scorer, decent wing to have on your bench that could score and shoot the ball a little bit. All right, well, let's talk about some college football. Let's talk about these scores from this past week, and then once I do this, we'll get to the AP rankings, and then we'll get into the NFL. Number 22 Miami blows Bethune-Cookman out of the water, 48-7. No surprise there. You had top seed Georgia beat South Carolina 24-14, close game. South Carolina was up 14-3 at the half. People were like, "What's going on?" And then Georgia came out in the second half, scoring 21-zip, but Georgia had a little trouble with South Carolina. Number 2 Michigan beats Bowling Green 31-6. You had number 3 Florida State beats Boston College 31-29. Another really close game. So Boston College puts up a big fight against Florida State, who came in the third best team in the country. When I saw this game on the dock, I was like, this game's gonna be a blowout, and all of a sudden, I was working Saturday, so I didn't really get a chance to see any of the action. Then I'm like, I'm getting like notifications and messages of like, it's like a 9-point game. I'm like, Boston College is down a score of 5 to go. They're getting the ball back. I'm like, what's going on? Boston College made a run, but Florida State hangs on. Number 4 Texas beats Wyoming 31-10. Number 6 Ohio State beats Western Kentucky 63-10. No surprise there. Number 7 Penn State beats Illinois 30-13. Number 8 Washington beats Michigan State 41-7. Michigan State, they are a dumpster fire. We'll get to them soon. Michael Penix for 407 yards and 4 touchdowns. He looks really good. Number 9 Notre Dame beats Central Michigan 41-17. Number 10 Alabama beats South Florida 17-3. That Alabama offense is pitiful. So they benched during the week. They announced that Jalen Muir, after he struggled in week 2 against Texas, was benched for the backup. He looked horrible. They put the third string kid in there, and he was a little better. But that offense is pitiful. Said Saban said they're going to discuss who the quarterback is. They're going to name it this week. But their offense looks pitiful. They came in ranked 10th. They're usually always in the top 4 at least, and now they came in ranked 10th and they barely snuck by South Florida. That offense is embarrassingly bad. They need to figure it out because the quarterback situation there is a dumpster fire. The worst it's ever been in maybe as long as Nick Saban's been there because it's bad right now. They haven't, the quarterbacks have gone to the NFL, it's been kind of a mixed bag. Tua, when he's been healthy, overall it's been pretty good, but he's never really been healthy. Mac Jones, been so-so, still waiting. Jalen Hurts didn't really blossom until he transferred to Oklahoma. You can go way back on that to Joe Namath from the Sixers, obviously, as a Hall of Famer with the Jets. Overall, they've been kind of eh. Bryce Young, obviously, we're still not sure about. They overall have been great in the NFL. Florida beats number 11 Tennessee 29-16. Joe Milton, 2 touchdowns, had a really bad pick. Trevor Etienne, I think that might be Travis Etienne's brother, the Jacksonville star back who, of course, started at Clemson before he went to the Jaguars, ran for 172 and a touchdown. So Tennessee have a tough loss to unranked Florida. Number 12 Utah beats Weber State 31-7. Number 13 Oregon beats Hawaii 55-10. Number 14 LSU beats Mississippi State 41-14. Missouri upsets number 15 Kansas State 30-27 on a 61-yard field goal with time expire. What a way to end that game. Missouri's 3-0. Shout out to Missouri football. And I picked K-State to win, but when I did it, I was like, this could be a trap game. I could see Missouri winning, but I'm going to pick K-State. I should pick think Missouri, damn. Number 16 Oregon State beat San Diego State 26-9. DJ Uungale, there for 284 touchdown, 2 picks. He's not very good. He's not. There's a reason Clemson wanted them out. That Clemson fans wanted him gone. Kate Klubnik is very good either, but that's another story for another day. Number 17 Ole Miss beats Georgia Tech 48-23. Colorado. Number 18 Colorado beats Colorado State 43-35 in double overtime. What an incredible game. Game of the year through 3 weeks to this point. Obviously, it was a very spicy game. Before the game, Colorado State head coach Jay Norvell said about Deion, I take my hat and glasses off when I talk to adults. That's how my mom raised me. Then Deion, had the video talking to his players saying, oh, they made it personal. Then Deion he had all of his players wear gold shade as they entered the building. They had him on College Game Day, and then The Rock surprised him, which is hilarious. Incredible game, back and forth. Shedeur Sanders played phenomenal in that game. Fortunately, Travis Hunter got hurt, their star receiver corner. He's going to be out a few weeks with that concussion. That was a dirty hit. That was one of the most dirty that I've ever seen in college football. Extremely dirty. Like, very dirty. But not discussing it. But incredible game. Colorado looks good. I don't think they were contenders because, they played close with Colorado State. Even TCU, who was ranked 17th coming in, is not that great. They lost a lot of pieces. But they are fun, and, Deion, he's definitely changing the culture there. And I love everything about Deion there. I'm definitely a fan. Number 19, Oklahoma beats Tulsa 66-17. Number 20, UNC beats Minnesota 31-13. Number 21, Duke beats Northwestern 38-14. Number 20, Washington State beats Northern Colorado 64-21. Number 24, UCLA over North Carolina Central 59-7. Number 25, Iowa beats Western Michigan 41-10. Now for the AP Top 25 rankings heading into Week 4. Georgia's still the best team in the country. Number 2 is Michigan. Texas moves up to number 3. Florida State moves down 1 to 4. USC is 5th. Ohio State is 6th. Penn State 7th. Washington 8th. Notre Dame 9th. Oregon's 10th. Utah's 11th. LSU 12th. Alabama's sent to 13th in the country. Oregon State 14th. Ole Miss 15th. Oklahoma 16th. UNC 17th. Duke is 18th. Colorado moves down a spot to 19th. Miami is 20th. 21st is Washington State. 22nd is UCLA. 23rd is Tennessee as they plummet after losing to Florida. 24th is Iowa, and Florida enters the rankings at 25th. Keep in mind, Clemson is not ranked. Who would have thought? And a couple of shocking developments along with that. Alabama's ranked 13th right now. It's not even, we've 3 games in. They're already ranked 13th. That's crazy. And then Clemson's not ranked. Kansas State plummeted. They're not even ranked anymore. They were ranked 15th last week. They're not ranked. And one more thing, Michigan State is working to fire head coach Mel Tucker with cause. I'm not going to go too deep into it because it's some very heavy stuff. I don't know who's watching. He was accused of sexual assault by someone who came and talked to the school, who was a avid public speaker about sexual assault and was sharing her story. Very awful stuff, and definitely the right move by the Michigan State program. The interim coach is going to be Harwin Barnett, long-time college football assistant, and their long-time head coach before Tucker, Mark D'Antuono, is going to be on as a consultant to kind of help him out. All right, let's talk about the NFL. Let's talk about the scores from Week 2. I made mention somewhere I forgot. Eagles beat the Vikings on Thursday Night Football 34-28. Eagles passing offense overall doesn't look great, but Swift had a big game, ran for over 170 yards and a couple touchdowns in that game. The Vikings defense is awful. But Kirk Cousins actually did play well. Justin Jefferson is amazing. Yeah, Eagles won that one. Falcons beat the Packers 25-24. The edge past them. Falcons ran the ball down the Packers' throat. This is what the Falcons have to play. Run the ball, run the damn ball, and lean on the defense. They have a defense is much better. It's still not great, but I think it's a decent defense. They got a really good offensive line, a great running back room, and not a good passing offense. They got to win the game by running the ball, and they're 2-0. And in that division, as bad as it is, you never know what could happen. Bijan's a stud. Algier looks very good. People are saying, oh, why is Algier getting so much work? I actually kind of agree if it's because their passing offense is so bad. I'm not so rare. They have no weapons there. They need to run the ball if they want any sort of scoring. So, so why when you have a guy who was rushed for 1,000 yards as a rookie, why not use him? Bijan should be the feature guy, of course, and it appears he is. This is that Algar is getting a few more carries than expecting. He's getting some goal line carries. They should run the ball as much as they can. And Matt LaFleur kind of threw that game with his play calling. I've been telling you, Matt LaFleur is overrated. He's not. I don't think he's that great of a coach. Bills have kind of a get right game. Beat the Raiders 8-10. Josh Allen looked a little better. James Cook ran for 123 yards in that game. If he can be their 3-down back, that'll go a long way for the Bills. Especially, considering the division, the Jets aren't going to be as good because they lose Aaron Rodgers. The Patriots don't look great. Bills could win the division again pretty easily, to be honest. Ravens beat the Bengals 27-24. Burrow, again, didn't play great. Rory struggled in the first half. Offense looked off. T. Higgins up to a big game, but Jamar Chase didn't look good. And now, Zach Taylor said Burrow's calf injury that he hurt in training camp, he re-aggravated and might not play in this upcoming week, so keep your eye on that. But Ravens are 2-0. Bengals 0-2. They look off right now. They got to get it together. That's a tough division. Seahawks beat the Lions 37-31. Phenomenal game. Gino played really well in that game. Lions had a tough loss. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, one of their starting safeties who they brought in free agency, has a torn pec. He's out for the year. It's a big loss. That was a big acquisition this offseason to help that Lions secondary that really struggled last year. And now they're David Montgomery, their number one running back. Dan Campbell said he's day by day. He said his thigh injury will take a few weeks to heal, but he's day by day for now. So we're still waiting to see if he's going to play through the injury. Colts beat the Texans 31-20. Anderson got to a hot start in that game. He ran for two touchdowns out of the gate. Then he had a concussion, costing the rest of the game. But Gardner Minshew came in and played really well. And Stroud did some good things. Obviously, he's still rookie, but Colts win that game. Chiefs beat the Jags 17-9. It was a bit of a stinker. It was not a fun game, but Chiefs defense looks really good. Their defense looks like the better side of the ball. Of course, they got Chris Jones back. Got Kelsey back, but he's playing on a pitch count. Kadarius Toney did look better. Besides, he didn't lose it, but did fumble on that one play. He did catch all 5 of his targets. Chiefs defense shut down that powerful Jags offense, though. Bucks beat the Bears 27-17. Baker threw for over 300 yards. Big game from Mike Evans. Rachaad White looked really good. The Bears look horrible. Justin Fields has made no strides to pass. I'm getting very nervous about him. I've been so high on him. I've been trying to tell people to chill with the slander on him. But I'm having a hard time, not going back on my comments because he just looks terrible. The Bears team does not look good. I didn't think they were a playoff team. I thought they were significantly better. I don't know if they're any better. They look horrendously bad. That they literally might, like how Joe Namath sold to the devil when he won most of the ball in 69, just never be good, never had a good quarterback. I don't know if the Bears, when they were created, might have, George Halas might have done that, because who's the best quarterback in their franchise? Either Jim McMahon, who was good, but not great. He was obviously the high of that team was Walter Payton, their all-time great running back in the 85 Bears defense, probably the greatest defense ever. Maybe Jay Cutler, who was okay, but not great. Also always hurt and a horrible teammate from what I've heard. And this kid Field, I thought was really good. And he looks like Mitch Trubisky 2.0 out there. Titans beat the Chargers 27-24. What is up with the Chargers? They need to get Brandon Staley out. He is an abysmal head coach. I know they didn't have Austin Eckler, your star running back, and he doesn't have a timetable. For their defense, I said it before, is the most overrated unit in the league. Their defense is not good, and they have a defensive head coach. Herbert is fantastic, but he needs some better guys around him because they're 0-2, and they lost to the Dolphins in a shootout, and now they lose to the freaking Titans. Titans might be the most boring team ever. They've always been bored, but now they also suck. They're not like they're a team. They're so uninteresting because they're not bad enough to be like with 3-14, 4-13, just put like, all right, at least by the end of the year, we'll get to see some like younger players try out for them for next year, and they'll have a top 5 pick. But they're not good enough to make the playoffs, and they're just so boring. If Ryan Tannehill is a quarterback, just run the ball with Derrick Henry. Oof. Giants beat the Cardinals 31-28. Cardinals were up 20-0 at the half. Giants were outscored 60-0 through the first 6 quarters. They came back down 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, but they got to fix some things there. Should not have been down 3 touchdowns to the worst team in the entire league. One of the worst teams I've ever seen. I think the Cardinals are tanking. Like, what the heck's going on? Daniel Jones looked a little better, especially in the second half. But Saquon Barkley, he sprained his ankle at the end of the game. He's out 2 to 3 weeks with the big loss, especially since they played the Niners on Thursday Night Football. You got speaking of that, they beat the Rams 30-23. Rams look a little better than expected. Puka Nacua set the rookie record for most catches in his first 2 games. Tutu Atwell looks well. They're a little better than I thought, I will say. Cadillac beat just 30-10. Zach Wilson was terrible. Just think 12-27 for 170-yard touchdown, 3 picks. But their game plan was horrible. 8 carries. Come on. This team needs to win games in order to win any games this year. They need to run the damn ball with the best running backs in the league, Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook. They should be running the ball at least 30 times. 8 times is disgusting. And they got to play a great defense. Cowboys don't have a bad offense. It's a good offense, but come on. They got torched. Also, like, Sauce Gardner said, like, he only, like people were saying, like, CeeDee Lamb, like, torch Sauce. Sauce was like, I wasn't guarding him. Why not? Sauce should be on CeeDee Lamb the whole freaking time. I like DJ Reed. He's a very good player, underrated, good cover corner, but he's the number 2 for a reason. Put him on Brandon Cooks or Michael Gallup. Put Sauce on, what's his name? CeeDee Lamb. Unbelievable. The season already feels over, and it's 2 games in, and they won the first game. So Zach Wilson didn't play well. I'm going to give him a slight pass because the game plan was overall just bad. Commanders beat the Broncos 35-33. So Broncos got a tip drill Hail Mary on the last play of the game to bring them within 2 points. Probably shouldn't have passing interference. It's why you bat it down, not try to go for a pick on the Hail Mary, because then they could tip drill, backwards into the end zone. But they did get 2-point conversion, and they lost. Russell, I know Russell overall, his numbers look good, but this team is not good. They're not. They're not going to be good this year. Commanders look pretty good. Sam Howell played well. Dallas beat the Patriots 24-17 on Sunday Night Football. The Patriots' offense does not look great. Matt looks a little better. Offense looks a little better, but still doesn't look great. Overall, their defense has been good, but they had Raheem Mostert torched them on the ground last night. Not last night. 2 minutes ago at this point. But yeah, a doubleheader on Monday Night Football. Saints beat the Panthers 2017. Pretty boring game. Derek Carr did not play well. Bryce Young didn't play well, but he's a rookie. Tony Jones Jr. had 2 touchdowns. Obviously, Alvin Kamara suspended, but Jamal Williams got hurt. Kendra Miller got hurt, so he was their top back at one point in that game. And Steelers beat the Browns 26-22. Tito off a scoop and score in the last 6 or 7 minutes. Steelers even looks phenomenal. They outscored their offense. Offense only scored 12 points. Their defense scored 14. They had a pick, 6, and a scoop and score. That offense looks pathetic. Kenny Pickett, I don't think is the guy. Najee Harris looks horrible. Outside of Pickens, he's really their only receiver now with Deontay Johnson on IR. He's out at least a month. Their offense looks horrible. With the Browns, I'm tired of people saying, "Oh, Watson's rusty." There's no excuse anymore. He looks terrible. I don't think he's the same guy. And just prayers up for Nick Chubb. That injury was really ugly. He's out for the year with a major knee injury. Prayers up for him. That did not look good. I hope he makes a full recovery. Yeah, that Steelers offense, it needs to be better. How does Matt Canada have a job? He must have, he's gotta either, him and Tomlin either are, together, they're in a freaking relationship, or he has something on him to, where if Tomlin fires him, he's gonna, release it to, Tomlin committed some heinous act. I don't know how that man has a job. He is the worst offensive coordinator I have ever seen. And I've watched the Jets for 21 years. Well, I started watching when I was 9. So 12 years, whatever it is, since I started watching sports. Yikes. So other news, before we close up the show, the Rams are taking on $75 million in dead cap. That means they're going to have a whole lot of cap space next year, so they can try to revamp this roster. Lions, Patrick James Houston at 6 to 8 weeks for fresh language. A shame. This guy, I was very excited about looking at this year. Had 8.5 sacks last year. He came on late last year. Pat Mahomes gets his deal restructured. He'll make $210.6 million over the next 4 years, so it's like $52.5 million a year. So that time he got a little bit of a raise. The NFL Players Association is filing a grievance against the NFL. No, the NFL, excuse me, is filing a grievance against the NFL Players Association. Said that they're alleging that the Players Association told running backs to exaggerate injuries when they were talking about trying to get running backs more money. So we're bringing up look at the injuries to Barkley and Chubb. This is why they're expendable. I'm sorry, this is the truth. I hope that the Players Association was not doing that. The Cowboys cut Ronald Jones. There was 2 suspensions up. He's horrible anyway. Shaq Thompson. Frank Reich, the Panthers head coach, said very bad ankle injury. He's gonna miss some time. Austin Eckler has no timetable. I think I mentioned that. Burrow, I mentioned, might miss week 3. Buda Baker's on the reserve, a hamstring injury, so tough break. Really the only playmaker on that Cardinals defense. That's a big loss for them. Of course, he wants to be traded for a reason. Jalen Waddle was in the concussion protocol. He got a concussion at the end of Sunday Night Football. And like I said, Dave Montgomery is day by day with the thigh injury. All right, that's all I got for you guys today. Until next time, so long. Have a great day.